The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're in. Good to have you all here. And let's see, we're going to have to show you my slides here. Okay, here you go. So this is, as you all know, is part of what we do with in this this group of us trying to help you address this this challenge that we face today in terms of community learning and education. And so we're fortunate to have many friends who are helping us deal with the situation through their online learning activities. And so today we have MathWorks helping us out. The three groups that are organizing this are IFEES, International Federation of Engineering Societies, and Global Engineering Deans Council, and the Indo-Universal Collaboration of Engineering Education. So thank you all for joining. And so I'm going to hand this over to PJ Bordner, who is the Director of Education at MathWorks, to just introduce our speakers over today. PJ, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you, Krishna. On behalf of MathWorks, I'd also like to thank GEDC, IUCEE, and IFEES for developing this webinar series to support faculty and students with their move to distance learning. We believe the work this community is doing is so important, and we're grateful to be part of this effort with our session today, Distance Learning with Cloud-Based Tools from MathWorks. I'd now like to introduce you to my colleague, Dr. Elvira Osuna-Haile. Elvira is a senior customer success engineer at MathWorks. She's a member of our worldwide customer success team, and she partners with universities to support both teaching and research across a variety of disciplines, including engineering, science, and business. Prior to joining MathWorks, Elvira was at Carnegie Mellon University. She earned her doctorate in biomedical engineering from Carnegie Mellon, and her research was in machine learning. So without further ado, I'm going to now turn it over to Elvira.
Thanks, PJ. Thanks, Krishna. And thank you for having us today. I hope some of these tools will help you guys kind of get up and running with some online tools for your virtual classroom. So before we get started, I'd like to do a little poll just to kind of get an idea of where everyone is. So I'd like to know if you're a faculty or a student, or if you kind of fit into an other category.
Okay, I will do that for you, Elvira. So I'm going to launch it right now. And so the poll is open, so please jump in. We got 170 of you, so I need all 170 of you showing up. All right, had your lunch, your fingers are energetic, and so maybe you're late night, you're feeling sleepy in India. 10:30 at night in India. Okay, so okay, keep coming. 75% have voted already. Oh my God, that's great. Oh, this is a lively group here. So 78%, okay, 80%. That's a good number. So I'm gonna close there and let you know what the percentage is for this group here. So again, it's a 54% faculty, 36% students, and 10% others. So great. I think stay up later at night, so there are more students. More students than we had in the morning. All right, there you go.
Great. And so one more. So don't fall asleep on me yet. One more. Okay. Are you currently using any MATLAB online, MathWorks online resources? So things like MATLAB Online, MATLAB Grader, that sort of thing.
Okay, here we go. I've launched it. Poll is open. So let's see what you have. Yes or no? That's simple enough, right? So you got half of you have voted already. That's good. So we'll wait for a few more seconds. 70% have voted. Good. Keep them coming. I'm going to wait a few more seconds. And I'm going to close right about now. And I'm going to share. So this group is a little less familiar with your stuff. So it's got 27% are using some of these things, and 73% are not. So it's a little more of non-users here. Okay, so I'm going to hide that. And back to you, Vera. Yeah.
Thanks. So that's good. So for some of you, this will be kind of all new stuff, which is great. You can pick up what you can use quickly. And for others who are using some of our online tools, I hope to show you some new things that you can kind of start using. Okay, so this is our kind of new reality. We have a lot of university closures. In-person courses are now being converted to virtual environments. So how do we convert the critical aspects of the course into an online format? And how do we do this very quickly, right? So tools for adapting the course to an online format fall into 4 categories. So first, we need to make sure that everyone has access to the tools that they need. And in this case, we'll discuss access to MATLAB and toolboxes that are available to you and your students. Secondly, we need to effectively communicate and share the information in this new learning environment. Third, we need to effectively assess and deliver feedback to our students, especially since we won't be standing there to help them. And lastly, where do you and your students go if you need help or ideas? And so we'll just discuss all these categories one at a time. And let's start at the beginning and let's talk about access. So if your university offers campus-wide access, everyone can download MATLAB onto their university or personal computers. So you can go to your university's portal page and download it from anywhere. So you don't have to be on campus in order to download. You can find your portal page by typically Googling your university name in MATLAB, and it should be one of the top few links. So through this type of license, you have access to MATLAB online. So this is a convenient way to use MATLAB without having to download or install any software. And we provide all the compute power, the maintenance, and the support. So the interface is very similar to locally installed MATLAB, and you will always be running the latest version of MATLAB in this web browser. So how do you get all your files onto MATLAB online? We offer MATLAB Drive, and every user gets 5 gigs of space on MATLAB Drive. You can access your files through MATLAB Online, but you can also access them through your standalone version of MATLAB, through your downloaded version. So a nice feature of this MATLAB Drive is that you'll be able to share your code and other documents with other people. So you can imagine that you can share assignments with your students can share their homework with you, and because you're doing it through this virtual environment, you can run all the homeworks through MATLAB Online without having to download each individual student's code, organize all the code properly, and then run each one individually. You can kind of keep it all organized right in MATLAB Drive. So this is a nice environment for if your campus offers a campus-wide license. If you do not have access to a campus license, and your university provides a cloud-based license, so you can only use MATLAB while you're on campus, you can establish a secure connection to your university network and continue to use MATLAB. And if you are unsure how to do this, your IT department website should have instructions on how to establish a secure connection. For immediate needs, you can, and if your semester is wrapping up in the next month, you can download a 30-day trial from our website. And this may be a good option just to kind of bridge the gap between now and the end of the semester. So if 30 days isn't sufficient and you can't access MATLAB through a secure connection, we do have solutions for broader access. And since every school has different needs, I encourage you to contact your MathWorks representative to discuss access solutions. And we are here to help. So if you are having issues getting the tools that you need, please reach out to us. We'd like to help. Okay, so we're going to assume now everybody has access to MATLAB and the tools that they need. So what tools do we have to help teach your course online? So since courses are now online, students have to do more learning on their own. Using interactive documents allows you to create a narrative around the code, giving students context and guidance. Since you're not there to be working with them all the time, they really need to kind of understand all this material at their own pace and do more self-directed learning. So you can, using this live editor, you can make your script as formatted as you like. You can add images and equations, sliders, drop downs, and other features that enhance learning. All the material is in one document, and it allows students to concentrate on the material. So they don't have to be going back and forth from a PowerPoint to the code, to a PDF, etc. And so since the students can interact with the code and the narrative that goes around it, they can gain a deeper understanding of the material at their own pace. So now that I've shown you a few things here, I'd like to go into MATLAB Online and kind of put together a lot of the tools that we've already discussed. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it way up here, up on the top left. I am using the latest release, 2020A. So MATLAB Online, like I said, always runs the latest release. Sorry, when I share my screen, the connection's a little bit slow. Okay. And for those of you who are familiar with MATLAB, this looks just like a regular downloaded MATLAB screen. So what I have here in my current folder is my MATLAB drive. So I can access this through my own standalone version of MATLAB and through MATLAB Online. So whatever I edit here, I can have in my downloaded version. In this case, I'm going to open up a file that was sent to me by a coworker, but we can imagine that it was sent to me by a student. Maybe this is their homework. And I'd like to run it and see what happens. So this is an example of a live script. So using the live editor. And as you can see from the view that we see right now, let me just close this real quick. I have no code. This is all narrative that goes around the analysis that I'm trying to teach these students. This case, it's sensor data, but that's not really important. What's nice is you can have a table of contents here. So if the student wants to just jump to a portion, you just click on it and it jumps right to that section. And I am actually just going to run the whole thing right now. So there's a few things here. So the grade portion is actually the code that runs. There's a few ways you can actually see your output. So in this case, I have the output displaying below the code that generated it, just as you would if you ran it in the command window, that sort of thing. You can also have it output to the right. So if you'd like the narrative to continue without kind of the outputs getting in the way, you can shift all the output to the right. If you have it in this format and you're trying to figure out, well, what created this graph, for example, you can click on the graph and your cursor will go to the lines of code that created that graph. So there is like a connection between the two, and it's nice to be able to follow that way. The third option that we have here on the right is to hide the code. So sometimes the code that you need in order to teach a concept can be a little complicated, and you don't want the students to kind of get overwhelmed by all the code and that goes underneath it. If you hide the code, it is just your narrative and the outputs that show up. So in this case, for example, the plot, it just says we're going to plot the population data against the year, and it shows the plot. So this could be good for more complicated work that maybe you don't want the students to get bogged down with right away. Okay. In this example, we're fitting data, and so before I show you all the nifty stuff that goes on at the bottom of this script, I'd like to show you another tool that we have in MATLAB that may be helpful for this idea that students have to be more, have to own their learning, right? They have to be more self-directed in their learning when learning happens in an online format. And so one of the things, in addition to this live editor, is MATLAB Apps. And so typically when I talk to faculty and students about apps, about half of them have never even seen the tab. And so I'm showing you some new stuff. So if you click on the apps up here and you open it up, you see we have a lot of apps here, and it all corresponds to the configuration of your MATLAB. So if you only have 3 toolboxes installed, you'll have less apps. If you have every toolbox installed, you'll have every app that we have. Okay, they come in addition with the tool. They come with the toolboxes. Okay. In this case, I'm going to do some curve fitting. So I'm going to use this curve fitting app that's here. Okay. And so I'm going to start adding my data here. In this case, I know from before that my x is x, very creatively, and my y is my population. Okay. And so if I'm a student and I'm trying to learn about all these different types of fit, I can come here and with this one set of data, I can literally just click on a different fit and try to see which one works best. I can add number of terms and, you know, see what happens. Oh, this was a bad choice. And, you know, work with different fits. So I can look at this one and say, well, this one is terrible. It's not even going through the data. As it auto fits and recalculates, I can look at my coefficients here, all the models and the R-squared, all of the things that you would normally calculate with a fit show up here. Okay. In addition, if you're working with something with a custom equation, you can actually add your own custom equation here as well. So once, let's say I'm a student and I think, okay, this is the best fit, I'm going to use this one. But I wonder how you do this programmatically. All of our apps will generate code. And so all you have to do is click on generate code. And I don't know if you noticed, but behind this app, something happened. And so let's go take a look. It's not one, doesn't want to close it for me. So let's just move it to the side. Okay. So this is the code, the auto-generated code from the work that I just did in the app. Okay, so that one wasn't particularly, you know, complicated, but if you had something like you're designing a classifier or a deep network, it does become a little bit longer and you know, more complex, the code that you're working with. So in this case, if I'm a student trying to figure out how to actually code curve fitting in MATLAB, I can come through here and learn what all of these functions are doing. Now that I had the experience of actually doing my own fit. So let's say I have that code, I've run it, I've done all my my fits. I'm going to come down here, and this is the predicting portion of the code. And what it says is that I can use this slider and I can slide it. Sorry, it will auto update. And as I use the slider, down here, my output, as it's trying to predict what the population in the US will be at that year, automatically updates. And this happens with graphs. You can change the parameters of a graph, and the graph will automatically update. Sliders, drop downs, anything that you add into the live script will update automatically the output. And so that's really nice for students in particular, just to kind of see what each parameter is doing to that particular system. I think sometimes when we teach equations, we throw the equation up there and say, oh, this is what this one does. But this is their way of really gaining a deep understanding of this variable affects this system in this way. Okay, so what if, you know, we talked about apps and we talked about the curve fitting app, but what if there's a subject or a topic that you think would be great as an app, but we don't have an app for it? Well, you can create your own. You can use the MATLAB App Designer. And what you do is you drag and drop the visual components of your graphical user interface and you know, position it the way that you want it to look. And then underneath, there's the code that you can insert so that each one of those components will work properly in your system. I will say I am not great at designing graphical user interfaces, and I can do it in App Designer. So this is a very intuitive system on how it works. In addition to creating the apps in MATLAB, you can create an app and then make it an executable, so you can share it with others as well. So we talked about Live Editor, and we talked about apps as a way to kind of encourage self-driven learning. But self-paced tutorials are also a good way to guide students through their learning. And concepts that you teach in your courses may already be developed as part of our self-paced tutorials. So you can assign the tutorial, or you can assign sections of it. And each course provides a certificate at the end, and you can verify which sections were completed. So the first 5 offerings on this list are free courses that help the learner understand the basics of the particular topic. They typically take about 2 to 3 hours to complete. If your university has the suite available, you'll have free access to the focus courses as well. So these are more in-depth courses, and you may find you can supplement or replace lectures with sections of these courses. And in fact, I work with many faculty that assign these courses and sections of these courses as homework, and then use class time to delve deeper into domain-specific examples. If any of these courses would be useful and you don't have access to the focus courses, please reach out to us. We have solutions to get you access to these courses. So just like we have courses for learning topics, we have courses for the instructor, a course for the instructor. So this is our Teaching with MATLAB tutorial. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to complete. And all the resources that we talk about here, most of the resources that we talk about here, I should say, are in this tutorial. And so you can go through the tutorial at your own pace, you can skip around, and you can get a hands-on guided tour of how all of these tools work. Okay. So now that courses are online, the idea of doing hands-on project-based learning seems impossible, right? So after all, you can't send everyone an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. However, students typically have hardware right in their pocket. And typically you're fighting against it in class, right? So you can leverage their smartphones, and you can offer them a hands-on experience with acquiring data right from their hardware. You can use MATLAB Mobile to access raw data from your smartphone sensors, such as the camera, the accelerometer, and other sensors. And you can find project ideas on our website. But some of my favorites for projects are step counters and a household object classifier. In addition, you can write code just like you would in the command window using MATLAB Mobile. So another way to do projects at home is to use the Internet of Things. So IoT is how our devices speak to one another. So for example, I can control my home's thermostat from my mobile phone. So ThinkSpeak is MathWorks IoT analytics platform, and students can use the data from one of our thousands of public channels to analyze a particular system. So in addition, if there's a particular hardware that you use in your course, you can set it up and set up a channel on ThinkSpeak, and your students can access the raw data for the analysis. So what does one of these projects kind of look like? So in this one, we used a Raspberry Pi, a webcam, and ThinkSpeak to analyze traffic on a busy highway near our offices in Massachusetts. This is a public channel that you can access and use in class. So for example, you can have the students access the last 6 months of data and analyze the effects of COVID-19 on traffic on this highway. So if you're interested in incorporating ThinkSpeak, our website is a great repository for code examples. So I encourage you to take a look at all the examples that we have available using ThinkSpeak. Okay, so how do we virtually assess our students and offer them feedback? So traditionally, students would hand in an assignment. You would grade it and hand it back a week or two later if your better professor than I am. It used to take me a lot longer than that. To continue this workflow, you'd have to send the students the assignment. They would have to print it out, complete it, scan it, and then submit the assignment. And so we need a better way to provide homework and assess homework, but in a digital way. So as we discussed earlier, students will have to do more self-driven learning, and offering assignments through an auto-grading system is another way to encourage this type of learning. Our auto-grading system is called MATLAB Grader, and it allows you to create interactive course assignments with automatic grading. So you can tailor your feedback for each assignment and help guide the students to the correct answer. Okay. So let's go through the student workflow so you can see where how a student experiences MATLAB Grader. So students will come to MATLAB Grader and go to the assignment. And when a student submits an assignment, you can offer instant feedback, and the student can revisit the problem and use your feedback to better their solution. In this case, we are seeing that the student tried something, didn't pass any of the assessments, and they can go back and try again until they get them all correct. So this instant feedback motivates students to continue to improve their solution. So we talk a lot about how to gamify our classes, how to make them more like games, and this is kind of one way of doing that. Everybody likes to see all the green check marks and that they got them all correct, right? And so this is one way to get them to go back and rework their problems. So as students complete the assignments, the grades go right into your gradebook. And so you not only get the grades, you also get metrics on how each student and the class as a whole did on the assignment. Okay. So rather than show you through PowerPoint, I'm going to show you in MATLAB Grader. Okay. So when you first log on to MATLAB Grader, I have a few courses here going, so these are my courses. You won't have any. But what's really nice is that you have this getting started up here. So you can take a guided tour, so you can know what all the buttons are. There's a lot of documentation on everything in Grader, so you can take a look. And then this is this 2-hour self-paced training that I was talking about, where you can get hands-on experience with a lot of the tools that we're talking about today. So if you've never used MATLAB Grader, or if you need a refresher, this is a great place to find a lot of resources. So I'm going to start with this Introduction to Programming course. Let's say this is the course that I'm teaching right now. And we're on our second homework, let's say. So what's nice is that this is kind of like a self-contained course. I can imagine having my syllabus, and people can keep checking it when necessary. So you can put as much information in here and make it as tailored as you want to your course. Let's say I know that this first problem in homework 2 was very hard. So I want to check to see how my students did. Okay. So one of the things that I can do is look at my class as a whole. Okay. And if I go to this class overview, excuse me, I get all of these analytics for my class, which otherwise you would have to figure out on your own. So I can see of my class that 78% of them eventually got it correct. With one learner, it seems, never having gotten the solution correct. This one is how many submissions were required to solve the problem. So it looks like the majority of people needed 2 submissions. This is the number of attempts for each test. So in this case, I have 4 assessments. So checking 4 different variables and seeing how many times people had to try it. So you may have one assessment that's very hard. One test, one variable that they had to calculate that was really hard. And so that may be something you want to try and go over in class. So these up here are for the students that eventually got it correct. For the students that never quite ever got it correct, we also have metrics down here. This is the number of submissions that they tried. So you could have someone who tried it 6 times, never got it right. So you may want to address that. And then this is the, which tests they're failing at. So which assessments they're having trouble with. So this kind of gives you an insight of what the students learned, where they got hung up, which is typically not something that you would otherwise see because you get the final product normally. In this case, you get to see all their attempts at trying to solve the problem. Okay. Another way to view some of these metrics is to view it on a more individualized scale. So before was all like over the overall class. This is individual learners and how they did. So the red X's are wrong, the green circles are right. This green diamond is the leading solution, which means that it's the most efficient solution. So it's the best solution. So for example, this circle got it correct, but it looks like it's the most inefficient solution. So you might want to go and take a look and say, well, what did they do? Sometimes I've had the experience where there's one that's way off the charts. It's right, but it's way off the charts. And sometimes they have things like nested for loops and things that aren't necessary for solving that problem. And that could be another kind of way to address it. The other thing you could do is, if a student comes to you and you need to look at their solutions, you can search by their name or pieces of their code, or I'm sorry, the solution ID if you happen to have that, but typically the name is the easiest way to search. You can come up with all the code that they've submitted. So what do these problems actually look like when you put them in? Let's take a look at this one. So as the instructor, this is my view. Okay. I can add a title. At the moment, I have it set as final, so I'm not going to edit it, but I have a title. I can do a problem description. I have my solutions, and I can do a skeleton code here. So let me add a problem just to show you what the problem banks look like. So I can add a blank problem and start from scratch. Or I can look at the problem bank that's offered by MathWorks here. Okay, so depending on what you're teaching, so there may be some assignments here that would be really useful for your course. I'm going to start out with this, and I'm going to do a Kirchhoff loop. So I've copied this into my homework too. I can take a look at it. I can say, okay, well, this is what I want. And just like in Live Editor, this problem description, you can have things like images, LaTeX equations, you can have a bold, italicized, title, code. You can make this really look the way you want it to look, and kind of work the narrative and give the students as much information as you need. In addition to all the information you can give them there, you can also reference files. So you can add things like Excel sheets if they need to use data. You can add code. You can add, maybe it's a graduate class and they're supposed to be coding something from a paper, you can link to the paper. But these are files that you can add to the problem. You can select a scripter function, and then in your code, this is your answer. And this is the learner's, what the learner will see when they come to this problem. So what's really nice about this is that you can create skeleton code if it will help the students out in getting started. The other thing that I really like about this is that you can lock certain lines. And I find that particularly useful when you're writing a function so that students can't change the name of the function and that kind of thing. So they don't break it by accident kind of situation. The assessments here are how you test to see if the answers are correct. So in this case, we're checking different variables here. I noticed in the metrics section when we were looking at that that test 3 people were having some trouble with. So I can take a look and see maybe I need a little more feedback on that. Or, okay, I was testing I, maybe students are having trouble figuring out I. This feedback section here is really nice because you can really tailor this feedback to that particular problem. So in this case, we've added a link to a help page that students can click on if they need help. We can say, okay, make sure you're doing your order of variables in the right way. Make sure that your units are correct. We can give them like better feedback than saying, no, your answer is wrong. Okay. So this is MATLAB Grader. This is, I've used it in through our system. This is grader.mathworks.com. This is free. You can start using it right now. MATLAB Grader will integrate with your learning management system as well. And so if you're interested in that, get in touch with us. But it will integrate with pretty much all learning management systems. So your Moodle, your Canvas, Blackboard, all that stuff. Ooh, sorry. Okay, so now it's time for everyone to wake up again because I have a poll.
Okay, I'm awake. I'm awake. So here we go. So let's have a quick look at what you're thinking about. Okay, so this is the question is, are you interested in the MATLAB Grader for current or future courses? And I'm going to launch that. Let's see your reactions. Okay, they're still awake. They're responding. Wow. All right, they got 40% of them in. Not bad. Okay, keep going. Give it a little more. Up to 60%. A few more seconds. We'll get a little higher, and then we'll get going. Okay, okay, come on, some more. We got a few more people today right now. So 65. Let me keep moving. Let's have a few more guys. Okay, I'm going to close right about there and share. So you got a large number of people interested. 92% said yes, and 8% said no. Okay, so that's a good group. They all want to excited to get going. All right,
Great.
Back to you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so Grader it's a really great tool. The faculty that I've worked with to get this integrated have all been really happy with it, and it's a nice way to take some of the load off of your TAs as well. So I encourage you to take a look at it and reach out if you need help getting started with it. So the last section here, we're going to talk about getting help. And so this is about you getting help with ideas and different resources and where your students can turn to get help as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is MATLAB Courseware. And so a lot of times I get questions from faculty asking, well, how do my peers teach this particular topic? Because some of you are teaching courses that are taught all over the world to engineering students, right? Our courseware page contains course material by your peers, and they're hosted on their sites, so you can actually, get in touch with them if you have questions or, need to contact them for something. So we have a lot of different topics here. So this is just a very small screenshot of the entire page, but I encourage you to go take a look. Your course may be on here. Included in these free kits are things like lecture notes, project ideas, videos, etc. Okay, so I encourage you to take a look at that. We also have a page for teaching and learning in the sciences. And by sciences, we, of course, mean things like physics and biology and geoscience. But in here, we also have things like math and finance and economics. And I would encourage you to take a look at that as well, because in here, you have very similar content. You have videos, you have courses that are using MATLAB, project ideas, books, book recommendations, etc. And all that material you can use as is, you can modify, it's there for you to use. So we've talked about a lot of tools. Your head may be spinning, but these are the main tools that we spoke about. Okay, a lot of the tools that we spoke about and other tools that are available to you can be found at this educators page, which I have here at the bottom, and it looks something like this. And from this page, you can find all the resources that you need, examples, that kind of thing, for many of the tools that we spoke about today, but other things that you know, maybe aren't completely related to online online courses. Okay, so I have one more poll.
Okay, this is going to be in two parts, part A and part B, because I could not fit all into one poll. So here we go. Are you going to read it out, or should I just launch it?
Sure, I can read it out. So I want to know, which of the tools that we discussed today are you most interested in using? And so you can choose as many as you want. You can choose all that apply.
Okay, so this first group is just the first 4. You can pick as many as you want. You can pick multiple choices. You can click on more than one. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, keep coming. That's good. I've got some responses here. Okay, I'll give a few more seconds and we will share. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. We're going to share. So this group of applications, MATLAB Online Drive is 73%. MATLAB Mobile is 42%. Live Editor 52%. And self-paced training is 45%.
Great.
And then we want to go to the next one, right?
Yes, please.
Next one is the other 3, which is MATLAB Apps, App Designer, ThinkSpeak, and MATLAB Grader. So let's see what you have to say about these. Okay, a few more. We'll wait for a few more seconds and display the results. Okay, I'm going to close there and share. So in this one, we got MATLAB Apps, App Designer 64%, ThinkSpeak 35%, and Grader 62%. Good.
Great. Yeah, thanks everyone for giving us your feedback on this. This helps us kind of know where, you know, where we can best support you. And like I said, if you have any questions about this, there's a lot of resources to get you started, including things like MATLAB Central. So this is another way to kind of interact with your peers and other math workers at different institutions using MATLAB Central. So there are community posts where you can ask questions or answer ones posted by other MATLAB users. You also find experts discussing the latest features. And this is the general MATLAB and Simulink user community, but I'd like to bring your attention to a new user community that we have called the Distance Learning Community. On this page, you'll find resources, videos, course examples, etc. For distance learning. And moreover, it's a space where the community can have discussions and share ideas regarding you know, our current situation, having to quickly make our courses all online. The last thing that you can get from that MATLAB Central are blogs. And this particular one is Lauren Shore's blog, where we were lucky enough to be asked to guest blog. And so Ram Krishnamurthy did a blog on all the tools that would be useful to get your class up and running online. And so what's nice is in here, he also discusses things like links to code examples and other things. So I encourage you to check those out as well.
Okay, so we have some of your colleagues with us actually.
Yes, and so lastly, a lot of those colleagues that are on us here on the panel here are customer success engineers. That's what I am as well. And we really work with faculty and researchers to support you. So whether it be in your class, in your research, whatever it is that would make you successful, we really strive to work with you to achieve your goals. So we all work with specific areas. So to get you to the right engineer, if you need help with anything, please, I encourage you to go to education@mathworks.com. and we will link you with the right engineer. And with that, I'll take some questions.
Okay, we have time for some questions, but I just want to let your colleagues say hi. Icon, you want to say hi to everybody here? I'm going to unmute you. Just say hi if you want. Then Jeff can say hi, and then if some of the questions are directed towards you, we'll move them toward.
Hello, my name is Aycan. If you have any questions, you can ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, then we got Ram here and Jeff. Ram, you want to say hello? Join us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ram. I'm based in the DC area. Please feel free to post questions. We'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Jeff Alderson. I'm the product manager for MATLAB Grader. So if you've got any Grader specific questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay, you guys might want to mute yourself while I quickly run through some of the questions. Quite a few questions. So you might want to put up the Elvira, put up your email ID so that they can follow up with you and others. It's a later time if we don't get to all the questions. So let's see, there's questions. Some questions might have been answered already. Some, like Mohan is asking, well, Simulink can be used in designing of networks and circuit courses. Got that, Elvira?
Oh, I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Use of Simulink in designing networks in circuit courses.
Yeah, so Simulink does have a product. If one of the other CSCs remember what it's called, because I'm having a blank.
Electrical.
Yes, thank you.
Using SimScape Electrical, it has that exact ability. You can build, simulate circuits, power systems, so on and so forth.
Right. Thanks. I was blanking on its name. So you can use it for circuits and systems.
Question from Anna: can you make the updating graphs on the website? If so, does it require some plugins?
Updating graphs on a website?
Yeah, I guess that was around when you were trying to update the graphs, I guess, with different curve fits. Maybe that's what it was. That's fine. We'll keep moving. And has to do, let's see, list out the operators that MATLAB allows. Does that make sense? The question? I want to know the operators that MATLAB allows. Maybe that's some questions may not be that direct. Okay, currently most of us are using online MATLAB. That's just a comment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Can we determine the, okay, let's see, keep moving down, further down. Can this be integrated with Canvas? I think you did mention that. That's from Alessandro. Mm-hmm. Right. Can you have the LaTeX code, LaTeX code in your code the way you can have images?
So yes, so through Live Editor, you can have LaTeX code. You can actually, we have an equation editor. So if you're not even comfortable with LaTeX, you can add equations through our equation editor, but you can do all that. Yep.
So this
and I would also add that also applies to MATLAB Grader as well. Any sort of problem descriptions can use the same equation editor.
Okay, here's a Sankar Narayan says, I want to improve my knowledge of MATLAB. I want to see more videos to learn MATLAB course. Give me some additional information. I guess the best way for you to do, Sankara, is to email Elvira, and she'll put you in touch with the people who can point you more. I mean, some of the information you might have got already from this webinar, but you'll get some additional support from them. Okay.
And you can always search. There is a videos page, so MATLAB videos, and you can search for. We have a lot of videos on getting started, but the on-ramp and the fundamentals, the self-paced trainings that I mentioned, those are really good, and those are a really nice way to do it hands-on, because otherwise you're just watching a video. But the training gets you actually coding. Okay, Sam Mukasa is asking about the free. Which of these tools are free, and if they're free, what's your business model for that? So they, I think all of the tools that I mentioned are free. Some of them have things like the trainings. You know, some are free and some are not. So if you need the ones that are not free, contact us. We can work with you. But all the tools that I mentioned, you can start running right now. They don't have to have a license from MATLAB, MathWorks license or anything. Well, that's true. Some of them you do need a MathWorks license. So, for example, MATLAB Online, you need to have an active license in order to use it. and same thing with Grader and that kind of stuff. So you need a license, but
some of them you do need a license, and then you can,
yeah.
and then they're free. But then those that don't have a license, or a campus license or individual, are there any of those that they can use directly without?
Yeah, if they have an individual license, they can still use the tools. Yeah, if they've bought one and they're current with the maintenance, they can still use the tools as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And just to clarify, if you're an instructor that wants to use MATLAB Grader, only the instructor needs a MATLAB license. Students can actually join and participate in homework assignments without needing to have a MATLAB license, just the instructor.
Okay.
Sorry, this is Hisham Al-Masri, product manager for MATLAB Online and MATLAB Drive. I just wanted to comment, MATLAB Mobile is also available free with just a MathWorks account. You get you can run MATLAB and I believe the symbolic toolbox on the MATLAB Mobile.
Yeah,
and as far as the business model, as far as the business model, I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
Right. Okay.
I'm just happy I can tell people it's free.
Okay, this presentation will be made into a video recording and will be sent to you, each one of you, later on sometime. So that's a question from Wahid. Okay, and in the civil engineering related labs in MATLABs.
Yeah, so we actually do have a lot of usage in civil engineering. So I would go to the MATLAB Courseware page. There is a section for civil and environmental engineering. You can take a look and see how people teach in civil and environmental engineering. We also have like user stories of more civil engineering topics of how people use it in industry and that kind of thing. Use MATLAB in industry.
So again, it goes back to a question of without MathWorks account, how can we use MATLAB online? I guess not.
You can't. Yeah, you have to make a MathWorks account, but those are free and it takes like 10 seconds to make one.
I see. So you can have an account without paying for it.
Yeah, so an account you can make. You don't have to have a license or anything like that. You can make a MathWorks account. In order to have access to MATLAB Online, though, it needs to be linked to a license. So you can't just make an account and then have MATLAB Online.
Okay. Got it. So, okay, everything is very clear. I did not know, this is from Jose, Rafael Espinosa, Gloria. I didn't know some of the tools that MathWorks has to improve for teaching and learning. It's great to know them. I will take a look at them and thank you. Let's see, then we have MathWorks helps to solve graphs, labeling related problems, or is this you should develop some efficient algorithms for the same?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Sure, I understand the question. Okay. Does MathWorks help to solve graphs, labeling related problems, or is this to develop some efficient algorithms? I guess Sarvana, just send us an email. Send her an email. She'll probably do that. Clarify the question. Okay. How do you extract data values from the app?
So yeah, so that's a good question. So those will you can export just the values depending. Well, it depends on what app you're looking at. Some, for example, the machine learning apps, you can export just the model. You don't have to export the code as well. So depending on the app, it'll export. They'll all export code, but you can export different useful information from there as well. Like it doesn't have to only be code.
Does MathWorks provide us the opportunity to host a web server of our own?
So yes, we've been like a web apps situation. Yeah, so that is available. There's actually been a lot of work that's been going into it. And in 2020 there was a nice update done to that. So I encourage you to check it out on our website.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there are quite a few other questions. Some of them are similar to the ones that have been asked. Okay, and MATLAB Grader be integrated to in Moodle?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any courses online to learn App Designer?
I'm sure there's a video on it. We have videos on a lot. So yes, we would have to search for that. I'm sure we have one. Yeah.
How do we connect?
Hello, this is Aycan. Actually, within App Designer, there's also a guided tour which guides you through the different steps of designing an app. So you can take that guided tour within App Designer.
Okay, great. So, yeah, we have a few more questions, but I just want to give a chance if anybody else on your team, or I pulled out a few people. I've got, let's see, who else is here on the panel? I've got Hans. Are you back? I don't know if you're back. You had to go away for a while. Anybody else wants to have a conversation from the team? Just trying to see who else is there. Okay, so that's yeah. How do you management studies? We had a question like that in the morning, right? How do you use this in management studies?
Yeah, so we actually do have under the sciences sections on various business topics like management, like economics, finance, that kind of stuff. So you can find stuff there for teaching courses. But if you take a look at our website, I think there are other resources as well. We have specific toolboxes and things like this.
They're not allowing me.
Okay. It's MATLAB. Okay, how does it compare with, say, Python for use in applications such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analytics, etc.?
Yeah, so so we got this question in the morning too. So MathWorks was actually just recognized as a leader in the Gartner quadrant, which was a great honor. So we actually do have a lot of. Let me exit out of this and I can search. MathWorks. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Does have a lot of tools for artificial intelligence. In fact, you know, we have a lot of these apps as well for kind of working with your networks so that you don't have to do it programmatically as well. This is right on our homepage. You can go right to the homepage and you can click on all these things. In terms of teaching, we also have those self-paced trainings that I showed. We have ones on machine learning and deep learning as well. And we do have pages on teaching machine learning and teaching deep learning using MATLAB.
Okay, one last question. Is it possible to use MATLAB from any place if our institute has a license?
Yeah, so if your institute has a campus license, you can use it wherever you want. You can download it from your house. You don't have to be on campus to do that. You can download it, use it wherever. It's a license like that, which is really nice.
Great. I'm going to close there. We just barely a few seconds left. PJ, you want to anybody from your team want to make any last comments, and then PJ? Anybody?
I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to work with you guys to offer this seminar. I think it's been really useful.
I also want to say thank you. Can you hear me? And also to remind people to please join our distance learning community, and we can take ongoing questions as a follow-up to this webinar, and we'll send along the PowerPoints with the links because we want to be supporting you all during this transition to distance learning. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, PJ, Elvira, and the team, and everybody stay happy, stay safe.
Yeah, and please reach out if you guys have questions.
Stay well all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.